it's so funny. I came here and I thought, okay, I'm going to talk about that and then it's all gone. So you're in for a treat, like I am. And I forgot my iPad and I was just walking up the stairs here in a hotel to my room. And I felt like there's a presence behind me. And I'm more into the mic, Mirjam, yes. I thought, this is weird. So I turned around, no one there. I think, okay. So I asked, what's behind me? And there was a very kind voice in my head that says, I'm a protector. You're okay. So that's a good start, right? I'm Dutch indeed, and I work as a transformational coach. And that was also my introduction to the ancient sites, because I was born with gifts like clairaudience, clairsentient, claircognizant, and what's else? You have one more? Audient. What? Clairvoyance. Yes, how can I forget? And because I thought this is special to have these gifts, I need to do something with it. So I went to England and studied in London to get a certificate to make it official, working with your gifts. So that was a good thing. So now I work as a coach and I look at the stories of people, the unknown stories, and I do that by looking at their energies and by tuning in to where they are right now, what they have forgotten, what they should know about themselves, and especially what is their story but not their story. So I have the ability, it turns out, and I can tell you, it took me years before I found out what really were my gifts. But I can travel timelines and I can travel through space, which makes it interesting for people who have had a burden in their life for years and years and years. Nobody can trace the origin of their burden. And then I come along and say, well, let's go there, look at the family, look at the planets, look at this, let's clear it, and it's gone. And it's amazing and it's beautiful to be able to work like that. Okay, ancient sites. You all know this place, right? Yeah. I love this picture as well because it shows me in that landscape. And I felt, especially with Silbury Hill, I feel a strong unity. There's something there that I relate to. But still, it's very difficult to label exactly what you're connecting to. And I'm sure you all agree that you can sense things, you can have an experience, but where does it connect to? And that comes to the connecting the dots from. And it started quite a weird way when I was in Sweden with a group of people and we were just doing some exercises and things, and a lady in the group said, oh, I really need to get some fresh air. Well, I said, well, hop in my car and we'll go somewhere to get some fresh air. We were in the woods, like it was, I don't know if you've ever been to Sweden, but it's mile after mile after mile after mile, it's just green. So I said, okay. And I had a special spot in my mind that I wanted to go to. And I said, oh, well, I have a special spot as well that I want to go to. And it was in the middle of nowhere. Turned out we wanted to go to the same spot. How is that possible? We didn't know each other. So we got out of the car, we walked into the forest, just by intuition, we walked into wherever we were going. And we came to an open spot in the forest, and there were two huge stones and one small one. And we both went silent because it felt like we were entering a sacred space, But we were at court. These were the royals, the king and the queen, and a child. And we were really welcomed. We both felt it, which we shared later. And we got a blessing. Okay. So, but then we were also dismissed. Okay, go now, go. And it really felt like, okay, we need to move now, we need to get away. So we walked back to the car, and before we got to the car, I had the strangest sensation that someone was tickling my calves, you know, your lower legs. I always have a problem pronouncing that well. Calves, right? Calves. See, I told you. But there was something tickling my calves. But that lady that I was with had the same sensation. I said, this is strange. And it turned out, I found out later, these were the elementals that were just having fun, because we had been to the court, we visited the royals. That lady, it was 20 years ago or something, still a friend of mine, because we pick up elementals and gnomes and elves and everything in nature and even in the gardens. Why do I like to be in England? Because in the Netherlands every square meter is about turned around 4 or 5 times already. It's pretty crowded. Here at least I can walk into space and say, wow, this is something new. This is something important. Why I like ancient sites is that there's still a purity that really, let's say, it's less polluted. It's still possible. That's the next story. It's still possible to connect to something that has to do with my origin, that has to do with my story in this world. And the funny thing is, I was preparing for this lecture and I ran into so many experiences I had with trees. I think, wait a minute, why trees? I don't know if you ever noticed that with a lot of the ancient sites there are trees. And especially the old trees kind of function as a protector of the sacredness of that space. And even when the stones, for instance, in a stone circle, they close up, they withdraw their energy, the trees still want to talk to you. This is one of the drawings I made once, because I found out as well that I've done many art projects with trees as the subject. So, but this is the introduction to this one, because this one was also a weird experience. Does anyone recognize this one? But, huh? Nope. It's a tree. If you go to the Long Stone on the Isle of Wight, right? You can take the road back, but there's all this little road that you can take down to the parking lot. And I went down this little road, and I heard in my head the voice, "Can you please pay attention to me?" So, okay, so I went back and I made some pictures and said, okay, why do you want me to pay attention to you? I said, when you pay attention to me, I lighten up, and then the elementals come and we can have a party. Okay. So he made me of service to his being uplifted. Well, that's a good thing. But it's also interesting that the trees sometimes, and especially now, I noticed, ask for attention, because they've something to tell that a lot of us forget to listen to. I'm sure, this is a special audience, so I know for sure that you know about it. Who recognizes this? That's funny. It's the Manor House of Avebury. So you go there, you visit the stone circle, which I've done many times as well. But the manor house had a certain attraction as well. And we bought a ticket to enter the manor house, but we were not allowed in because it was flooded. But okay, so we walked around it, and I heard the lady from the museum talk about the ghost in the house. I said, well, that's interesting. So we walked around the house, and I was kind of like tuning in, where is this ghost? You know, like I did here in the corridor, who is behind me? And I came to a certain spot in the backside of the house, and I felt, here, this is where she is. And it's a lady, and she wears white. So I walk back, and I tell the lady, I say, yes, that's exactly where I heard, and she heard knocking or singing or something. I said, okay. But when I was standing at the backside of this house, it said, don't ask me any question, go to the trees. Okay. And the manor house is there, so Avery Stone Circle is there, and then absolutely the opposite side is this row of beautiful old trees. And so I walked here and said, okay, can you tell me something about the ghost? And the funny thing is that trees, even if they die, there will be siblings, there will be new trees that have the same energy, the same imprint as the old trees. But I think the ghost was a lady that lived like 200 years ago, so not that old. But these trees knew her. The lady was a very unhappy lady, not really abused, but not happy. She had forced into a marriage, whatever, and something happened there. There's still discussion about the reason, but what she did was find peace of heart walking alongside these trees. Thank you. And it's to me it was quite remarkable that they told me the story about the ghost, and they said we guard her, we protected her, because she was a very young girl at the time when she got married, and here she found peace. And I loved it. And I also liked the fact that the trees were able to kind of nurture a human energy field. And that's one of the things that I learned from the trees, that they all have like a sacred space around them. And especially when they're, and that's what you have in England far more than in the Netherlands, the trees that stand by themselves, they can grow in all directions. You have the sacred space around them. And if you have a good one that really stands its ground, you can really heal yourself, find your balance, find your center again, and especially when you go in there with an open heart. It's a perfect way to connect with what the trees are. And what are trees? The best connection between heaven and earth. So we are walking around like idiots most of the time, trying to find a connection to something that is worthwhile, while we should be living like a tree. And I'm not saying that you have to stay to the same place all the time, because it's okay. But my favorite sentence here is, we should be walking trees. And to me, it goes further than that. The energy that a tree represents is so connected to the energies of a stone in a stone circle. And we are just fast-moving energies. But what's the difference? We are walking trees, and the trees are temporarily stones connecting heaven and earth. I'll get back to that. This, like I said, I don't know what I'm gonna say, but it needs to be said. These beaches are also close to Avebury. It's, I don't know if you've been there, but you go from Avebury to Silbury Hill, West Kennet Longborough on the other side of the road. There's this beautiful restaurant, a wagon and horses, and you go on the way to Caen. And there are these beaches, and they are old, and they have a very strong energy together. Huh? Is that Knoll Down? I'm not sure. Really? Okay, can be. I'll go with that. But it's beautiful because if you enter a kind of cathedral. And I'm not talking about a religious place, but a realigning place. So if you're allowed in, you do that with respect for the place, they honor you. So I made a beautiful video there. I make lots of little videos to inspire people to really be their best selves. And I was walking out here, and again I was called back by the trees and said, And I got a beautiful message from the elementals that said, if you do not protect the sacred spaces that are in the landscape, if you do not protect the connection between one place and the other place, it will be done with this world. Let's go, whoa, this is quite a statement. But I understood that we destroy the sacredness of places with such an ease because we forgot to take care of our own sacredness and our own connection to heaven and earth and our own divine representation of Source. So I loved it that they said that, and I said, yeah, okay, I'll bring it out in the world. So that's why I make little videos to tell people what's going on, what needs some attention. These Jew tree stands in near the church of Elton Prior, near Honey Street, also Wiltshire. And because I said, okay, I listen to the elementals, I hear them, but how do they show up? How do they manifest themselves? Why do they tickle my... Thank you. And here, it was one of the first time, this is in this tree. And it happens more often, like the stones, they form faces, right? But it is the question, what comes first? I made a tour in Canada, and wherever we camped, there was either a rock in the face looking like an Indian, or a tree looking like an Indian, like an old trunk. What makes the tree, the trunk, the stone get the shape of a protector of that space? It really is intriguing. And this, I found it a sad spirit. So I wasn't really happy, but I didn't like that place that much. But there are other trees, like the beeches I showed you before, that I really find energizing. And this is another way how they present themselves to me. I don't know if you can see, there's a little blue dot. Oh, I should be using this, right? Here. And then I made 2 pictures. There it is. Can you see it? I don't know why I got out of the car and made a picture. I don't know why I made 2 pictures. I saw the light afterwards. Why do they present themselves this way to me? And why do they change the way they appear? There's one more way that happens as well, and I think, Neil, this has to do with the batteries in your camera as well. This is Pendragon Castle, right? And we were there last year, a year and a half ago. And of course I was attracted by the tree, and I went there and I sat down. And this is a picture that David took of me, right after one another. And this happens more often. I'm sitting there, I'm not changing anything, and he says, oh, a picture went wrong. I said, no, the picture proves that I'm sitting at the spot where I need to sit. This is me connecting to the tree, and it shows as an enlightenment of the picture. So this is also a way that shows you your energy is absolutely fine. I don't know if you ever had that your camera suddenly goes dead or the battery is empty. Could be. I wasn't aware of that at that time, but could very well be, yes. But this happens when you higher your frequency, and especially when you honor the places where you are, and that has very much to do with also looking into the history of a place. I'm not a scientist, I'm not a researcher, I don't collect data, I collect experiences, and I'd like to share that. This is the witch tree near Zenner in Cornwall, and she wanted to talk to me too. And she talked about the natural flow of life that we forgot about. We're constructing so much in our lives that we forget to go with the flow. I said, remember your natural self. And the natural self is absolutely without the judgment, the haste, and it's about being courageous in going into the unknown. And that's exactly where we are right now, because we have to jump into the unknown. This is a causeway. I know that last year one of the speakers talked about causeways where they carried the coffin to the burial site. Beautiful. They built a chapel next to this witch tree because the witch tree was connected to, I don't know, yeah. These are the last two stones in the meadow next to the chapel that still have an energy, but to me the tree was far more stronger. The last two stones that were left of this witch stone circle. And they built a chapel to keep people away from recognizing the power of the tree. But yeah, the tree is still there, and the chapel is like a ruin. So, great. Was it Bro Castle, right? Cumbria? Huh? Broth. God. Oh my gosh. Okay. Yeah, that's to me that's really difficult, the right pronunciations. But I heard that already so many people had trouble pronouncing my name, so I'm excused. But we were there with Neil last year, and of course I went into the open space here in the castle, but again I was called out of it to listen to this tree. And the tree, so I tune in to the tree the way I tune into people and say, okay, what's your history? Is it your history? Is it your father's history? Is it from something else? Is it the place where you live? What is it that makes you feel the way you do? So I asked the tree, why are you wanting to talk to me? And it said, well, I just want to tell you that there has been a trading route here where this is this ditch. It stands in the middle of the ditch, and it was a safe passage for traders. So there was a lot of traffic going through that ditch. The castle is behind it. But they said they built the castle on a stone circle, on a place that was already a sacred space, and they used the power of that space to empower the ones who live in the castle. So you don't find that on the shields of English heritage or whatever. Not only that, not all the way. So the tree is here, you have the ditch, and then you have a little wall and a field there, and the field yes, they said there was a lot of war going on, but as happens to me more often, the lost souls connect. They say, oh, there's a lady that can see us, that can see us. Yeah, okay. Sometimes it's a little much. Like I lived in the Netherlands in a place where a lot of, it was close to the inner lake, IJsselmeer, so it was the inner sea. And a lot of sailors drowned there, but didn't know they drowned. So whenever I did a session there with someone, they would, hello, where am I? And I had to tell them they were gone, they were passed over, and they should move on and visit their friends on the other side of the veil. So that was taking up a lot of my energy. But these soldiers said, we just want to tell you that we don't know why we fight. And it was heartbreaking because it turned out indeed that there were soldiers imported like they do now on so many battlefields as well. You pay the soldier, you fight for me, I don't tell you much about the cause, you just die, go, right? And that happened there as well. And said, well, I honor you, I respect you, please go to the other side of the veil and be happy, be peaceful, because it's not going to happen here. But here again, it are the souls that connect because you are on an ancient site where the stories are still there for you to pick up, which I like, which is harder in a big city. I agree. Sevenac Forest near Marlborough. I love that place and I hate it. It goes both ways because here I love tuning in as well, and there were like 700, 1200, 1500-year-old trees. It's so impressive. And there's a whole row of the king's tree and the queen's tree and some others there, and they're deteriorating, they're going. And that happens with a lot of living things, elements in the landscape. They say, we need to go. So, why? Because we make room for new. The new siblings that have the same imprint but have another story to tell. We clear this space by giving our being, our life to the earth, back to the earth, so a new world can arise. And this tree was on the other side of Sevenac Forest, and I went there, and it was much stronger and vivid. And they said, well, we work together. We don't have to stand our ground so much. We work together and communicate. Like if you all, you only have to look left and right and behind you, for you, so the people, right? So you say hi, and you connect. And you don't have to embrace or hug or shine or whatever. Exchange email addresses, you can do that with me later. But these trees have this beautiful way of connecting also through their mycelium in the ground. But there are other ways their energy connects. And people connect with their energy field as well. These trees do that. Am I going fast? This was one place where I recovered from a very heavy, intense experience, and I just stood there, and it was like an embrace of their energy. And they work together in a way that we forgot. And this, I did a picture I made in the Netherlands, because this tree, believe it or not, is also 750 years old. I'm trying to find a translation of the word, but it is a stove.
Stew?
No, yeah, it's... Well, I'll have to look that up if that works. Yeah, but they they take the branches off it every year, every 2 years, and then it gets. But the energy around, I'd like to relate to it because there's no lying or no judging or nothing negative there. It works like almost inviting me to honor the sacred space that I am, which I like. Stones, now we get to some stones because ancient sites, I don't know if you recognize this one, but this is also near Avebury. This is Lockeridge. Familiar? It's between Avebury and Marlborough, and you have also this low, you go up and down the road, very famous road, and there's a bit of a hidden valley here with these stones in the field. And I asked them, do you have a function? Because, you know, everyone knows about Avebury and the stone circle and the stories connected to it and the alignments and the solstice and the this and that, and that's not my cup of tea. But I'd like to know why these stones feel so powerful. And they said, well, Mirjam, they can really go like that. We anchor all the energies of West Kennet Loughborough, Silbury Hill, the Sanctuary, Avebury, the Manor House, and the road to Marlborough, because we have a beautiful direct entrance to inner world, the inner earth. So, okay. Say, okay, can you tell me a bit more or make me sense it? And that sometimes happens. I go into a space and I feel the sensation go through my body and I'm transported into a unknown place. And I went into the energy of the inner earth. And the beautiful thing that happened was that there was a golden orange glow. And I could see it with my inner eye and I could feel it through my whole body. And they said, this is what we guard, because this is the energy that is inviting everyone into a new world, into a new way of existing, into a new energy, into allowing, embracing their own new gifts and work with it. So all the sacredness on this planet will be saved. You think just a few stones in a meadow? No way. Okay, of course, Castlereagh, there were already a few speakers talking about Castlereagh. I liked it, I liked the view, I liked the place, and it's like many other stone circles are really up there, where you have a beautiful view over the landscape, and it's very impressive. So the first time I saw this, I was like, wow. But the last time I was here, I wanted to make a video, I wanted to tune in and ask the stones, where are you about? Why do I ask stones? Because the stones are beautiful transmitters and receivers of energy. And I was so happy when I realized that the crystals, and especially in granite, are like the crystals in a radio, right? So they work as a radio, but you have to tune in to the right frequency to get the channel that you want. And that's the work that we have to do. Choose the right frequency to get the information out of the stones that is beneficial to us, to your personal, to us as a community, to this world. So I said, okay, I'm here. Tell me, where should we go now? And they said, well, Mirjam, you're not supposed to be here. Next door. You know, I'm impressed by the presence of these stones in Castlereagh, and I was sent away to go to the edge. And there was this gorgeous view of the mountains and the valleys next to Castlereagh. And I said, this is what's gonna lead you. This is what's gonna inspire you. The spirit of the mountains that you haven't really met yet. They will help you to jump through the hoops into a new world. Because a lot of the old stories are lived and have no more function. And you will only have to look around in this world to see the proof of that. Okay, I must say, that's funny, yeah. I look at that the picture of the dark mountains and I can feel it right away. So it's like, whoa, I feel so small and humble when I'm near that kind of presence. Anyone? Forgotte in Cornwall, Penrith, Cornwall. It's the south, but it's also a very, very special place. Of course, the diagonal stone has been on top of the stone, so it has been like a kind of burial site, which it never is. But this is also on a high hill where you can see very far. And I said, okay, why am I direct to this place? Like this beautiful horse that came with us. And those animals feel very well, whether you are honest in the work you do, right? So I loved it. I'm not so interested in who built this and the history of these stones, but I am interested in the energies that it represents. And these told me we anchor the energies here like, okay? Yeah. Good. We anchor the energies here because and you can imagine that in the south of Cornwall, a lot of the landscape has not been touched because it's very hard to build anything there. So the untouched landscape is a very good place where they can anchor energies of the world on top of it with the layers underneath. And it's not only the top layer, but it's very layered in Cornwall. So there are, let's say, layers that go really close to inner Earth, but have been occupied by, I'm going to say it, extraterrestrials, because there have been a lot of landing spots in Cornwall, especially at the times when the stones were fluid, where they could get into the land and out whatever they needed. Some of the places are really meant as marking points for those beings. It's still something that I'd like to look into, and I'm going to speak at Disclosure Now in December in Pusey, and there I'm allowed to dive really deep into this kind of stuff with the underground bases and the alien stuff and no, we should say extraterrestrial. But it's like, okay, good. Who of us is not extraterrestrial? Right? We don't come from Earth. We come from somewhere else. Our source is somewhere else. So what made us come here? Love these questions. But this one also said there are still places where, and that's why I'm interested in what the miners did there as well. The miners connected to the extraterrestrial energies that's still in that Earth, and that made a lot of them go wild. They had trouble grounding themselves. And there are a lot of stories there. And the what this don't know was the next, the maiden. Okay, yeah, this one. This is not that far from Forgotte, and this stone circle, which had a beautiful So some stones were really having a function, like there was a board that directed the rest of the stones. And there was one little stone that's standing there. I have to use my pointer now. That one. This is the board. These are the directors of the CEOs of this stone circle. That small one to the right is the friendly one. And I said, why does the stone circle need a friendly one? He said, if we don't put a friendly stone among the others, we are so strong that you wouldn't know what happened to you when you entered. I said, does that go for every stone circle? Yes, that goes for every stone circle. And you can imagine when just one crystal already is a very strong radio. When you have stones like this that stored stories after story after story after story for thousands of years, and it's all collected in those stones, and you enter there with your frequency, okay, let's see if we can find the right frequency, you will be blown away with all the stories that you pick up. So they put a friendly one as a kind of guide. Don't do all the stories at once. But I thought that was fascinating. This is the long stone, the standing stone in Mitchell's Fold. Had the same, say, okay, some said there was a bit of a dark place. I didn't experience that. I was amazed to go to this place, and again, it was an amazing, impressive landscape. We are up there. Have you been there? And it's stretched over such a great area, and I just loved standing there. But it was not so easy to talk to the stones. It felt like the energy had been dispersed, and that happens to a lot of stone circles as well. Which happens when you remove stones and put them back in the wrong place, which happened to Stonehenge as well. The rollright stones, stone circle I should say, this was also very fascinating because these stones started talking to me and said, no, we're just negotiating what needs to happen next, but we're not the center. And to me, it's so funny that every time they tell me something that goes very well the experiences I have and some others have, so I dare to say I trust my experiences, I trust my observations, but it's not what the sign says, absolutely not. But they keep talking among each other, and they said the real center is this. The Night's Man? Whispering Nights, that was it, yes, thank you. I got it all written down, but I forget that, which is not so bad. They put these stones here because there was a huge forest nearby where they had some beautiful sacred spaces, and it was flooded, burned, whatever, all kinds of natural disasters happened, and they put these Whispering Nights stones here to anchor the energy, because there were a lot of, and I'm not talking shamans or druids, but there were holy men that were able to work with the energy of the forest to assist all the villagers and the farmers there nearby to be well off, to be honest. And they anchored that energy in these stones, which I thought is beautiful, and it it didn't have anything to do with knights, so no fighting. Another, I don't know if you can find it. It's there. And this is in Snowdonia. It's carbon kapel stone. Well, they say burial site, and this is the site. And it was raining cats and dogs, and I said, oh my gosh, I had to find a place where I could hide. The only place I could find was here. So I had to stand in the burial site and said, okay, sorry, can I please use this place to hide for the rain? And they said, that's okay. And I asked, have you ever been a burial site? I said, Mirjam, come on, of course not. We have never been a burial site. We have always been a place of gathering. We have always been a place of people gathering to celebrate life on earth. We have always been of service to people and the land and their connection. And people started putting stones here to anchor the energies that were put there by all the stories of all the people that visited that place. We've never been a burial site, but we've always taken care of that sense of community that was celebrated here. And when they find like corpses and whatever stuff in a burial site, it's because the people who wanted to be buried there wanted to have a fast, speedy transition from earth to heaven. That's why they use that place, not as a burial site. It's kind of like the energetic elevator into heaven. And okay. And of course, this is my, it still remains my favorite site, Silbury Hill. But like on many other places, I kind of tune in and ask, so what is going to happen? What's going to happen? Why are we not invited to climb Silbury Hill? Well, of course, it's dangerous. It's a risk for Silbury Hill because it can deteriorate easily. But here they said as well, it has been an underground facility storing energy, and it's not on the mountain, it's underneath the mountain, and it's around the mountain. And the fact that this space fills up with water once in a while, so there's a very magical ritual in the landscape happening once in a while. But here where I'm standing, I had beautiful visions of, I have to say, extraterrestrials or beings, of light beings, or however you want to call them, that really showed themselves to me and said, well, Mirjam, the energies in the earth are shifting. We are moving, we are relocating, it says. We're relocating ourselves to another spot because other spots need to be energized. And you can count on it that most sacred places that you now honor will lose their energy. They will have their stories, but they will lose their energy. But there will be new ones that have such a splendid radiation of energy that it will support the shift that's going on in people as well. And I can tell you, you all will have more senses, more abilities, more gifts than you ever dreamt of, because one will be more aware of it than the other. But since our chakras are opening and we're piling up chakras that we never ever had the chance to use before, you can imagine that you sense everything in the land, in yourself, in others, in working together in a totally different way. So you could say, yeah, but I don't have those gifts. You will have those gifts depending on your story, depending on what you want to experience on Earth. And to me, that's so beautiful. It's, you know, my life is like a hair thin, but at the same time, I'm timeless. And when you can live with that concept, it makes it easier to communicate with any sacred space you have, and whether it's a stone or a tree or just a spark of fire even, or a person, you are so much better off in getting to know your story. And your story is what matters, because your story is your experience on Earth, which empowers everything there is on this planet. And when you do that, we can survive in a very festive way. Thank you. Most of the pictures I've taken myself, and I do a lot of videos, coaching, workshops, lectures, and webinars. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mirjam. That was brilliant. And I've got questions coming in already, so, okay.
Do trees mind when humans hug them?
Say that again.
Do trees mind when humans hug them?
Do our trees mind?
Yeah, when they hug them. Do trees mind when you give them a hug? Do they like it? Yeah, did it?
The tree, or
Yeah.
what's just a video I just uploaded an hour ago.
Oh, right, yeah.
Whenever you enter a sacred space, or even, you know, a house of a friend, you ask permission, and it becomes a habit. So when you honor what you're approaching, but it goes with the person as well. Can I give you a hug? So you do that with a tree as well. And it's also with tuning into stone circles that I always ask permission. And if they say no, go elsewhere, I go elsewhere. Because there's enough. And when something doesn't fit your story and your experience, you're pointed in another place. So yes.
What if I don't pick that message up because
Just know that it's possible to pick up that message. Wait till you pick up that message. Wait. All of us, and here especially in this beautiful community, everyone is able to do so. And when you don't sense it, and there are a lot of, it's the beautiful thing, it's not about recognizing your gifts, because there's a cognitive aspect to it, it's mental, but it's remembering, become a member again, become a member of the natural flow. And I'm sure everyone, and that's what I teach people as well, using their senses. And how many senses do we have? And how do you recognize how the invisible world works with you, how you can cooperate? And every time that happens, I mean, I've done several workshops, and well, people come in and say, well, you need to learn, but I don't know what about. And then they go away, and they're all shining and smiling and radiating light. And that's to me, it's important to be assisting in that process, and that's beautiful. Yes. Is that an answer?
Yeah.
Good.
Okay, anybody?
I'm in a room of like-minded people, and I can say this without feeling embarrassed, but I talk to a particular tree, and when I go elsewhere in the countryside, I'll say to the tree, do you recognize it? Yes, we have communication. Yes. Do you find the same?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's even, very much so. I can talk to a tree, and I even ask what kind of illness makes them go bad. And this I ask my friend over there, and it can be like 20 miles away. I said, okay. And it's the community among trees is enormous, and I like it here because there's still natural forest. But even I went into the dunes like yesterday or Friday night, and you have like this little path going up, and a bit of trees there, a bit of trees, and they kind of like, Mirjam, you recognize us. And it's really funny because I've got a lot of things, but doesn't matter. I was having coffee with a friend in her garden, and she had like a big field around the house, and they had one of those robotic grass mowers, right? I don't like them so much, but it's okay. The place looked really nice. And there was this huge oak standing in the corner, and it smiled at me. It smiled. There's no other word than a smiling oak. So, okay, I said, we need to walk to that oak and ask, why is it smiling to me? And I walked there, and there was a hedge, and I thought, wait a minute, there's a little field here. And the robot, the mower, didn't get to that place. And all the elementals gathered in that little spot. They say, we don't like the robotic grass mowers. They spoil the energy in the space.
Yeah, we use electric fence around our farm, and if you talk to the trees near they hate the electric fence. And as soon as you switch it off, they'll say, that's much better, I'm much happier. That sounds nutty, doesn't it? If we were anywhere else, people would say you're completely nuts.
No,
but yeah.
But I think it goes, and I think Sarah talked about the cutting the banana with we think of so many mental solutions when our body has so much to offer in finding solutions or problems you never ever thought of. And I find that in my working with people that have illnesses or traumatic experiences or whatever, it has an effect on their electric field. And the electric field is exactly what's happening, what's changing now. So the protection of the earth is different. The earth crust is moving. So everything in the magnetic, electromagnetic and magnetic field is changing. So we have to adjust to a different input. And that is a challenge because you don't know exactly where you're going. That is exactly what I'm talking about. Jump the hoops and enjoy. Because be courageous. You cannot lose anything. You can only win. Because you win your story. Right?
Thank you.
I wonder where my parents, when they bought their house in Cornwall, right? My parents moved into a house in Cornwall in about 50 years ago, right? The first thing they did with the sort of overgrown back area for parking, they broke up one of those old granite stones to build rockeries. And they built gates on the large standing stones that were either side of the entrance. And they ruined a lot of those lovely stones, some of which had crystals literally growing out of them. They are now dotted around in smaller pieces, obviously. I'm building up the rockeries, but I go around and put plants around there. But I wonder what they would think about it, because they didn't ask their permission. I haven't said anything to them because I just treated them as stones and crystals.
But it's so much part of a bigger story. We abuse so much, right? We abuse the earth, people, let's not go too deep into that, but it's so easy to be ignorant. And just paying respect to whatever you do, eat, sell, make, whatever job you do. It's so important. But also, and that's the funny thing, that for instance, those elementals that were like, they disappear from a place where they don't feel comfortable. But then others,
do anything to
there are others coming to really save the place and heal the place as well. So I was in the south of the Netherlands, and you have that area where they digged up peat, and I couldn't. No way, Mirjam, no way. But a concrete plate. I couldn't tune into what the earth could tell me. And I was a little disappointed because it was quite a trip there. And then I heard laughing. I said, wait, what is this? And it turned out that there were elementals dancing around and said, but we keep the place vivid and alive, so don't bother. And that's, and sometimes, it's also, they ask you to do something that you're not expected to do. So even the place of your parents, you can heal. And sometimes it needs to be not healed.
Well, I'm living there now, so I wondered if I could do
there might be something to do, yeah. But you can, especially when things are disturbed, you can say, okay, forgive us for disturbing the energy of this place. Asking for forgiveness helps. Being grateful what is left is very important as well. And when you say, forgive me for the distortion, please work with me, can you please help me, let me know what I can do for you to make this place again a healthy and harmonious place. You will get the inspiration either in a dream, or you read a funny message in the newspaper, or someone tells you something, or you sit in the bus and you're, why are they talking about that? It happens. And don't forget, this is also very much about the feminine power coming back into play. And I'm not talking that the women should take over from the man, but this is all about communicating and cooperating together. So
when
I think, yeah.
when I was a child, if ever I was afraid, I would go, and my family, my parents would find me by a tree. When I grew older, even relationships, marriage, things, if anyone needed to find me, I'd be in a forest. I might even be up a tree. They'd always find me by a tree. There were times when I would sit by a tree and then I'd feel it wasn't right, so I'd get up and move 2 or 3 trees down.
Yeah, ask
Now,
permission, but it's also...
I can't say that there was a communication, but there was something. I always knew there was something. I felt safe, I felt protected, and my daughter can vouch for it. I have a lot of pictures of trees in the house and wallpaper of trees, and I've never really understood it, but it's always felt very precious and safe to me to be around and near trees.
It's the spirit of the tree that allows you to find an inner balance. Some trees don't have a spirit, by the way, and then you move on to another tree.